Locho sampo pa gyu trashi pa tuche tempe trinle yarmo da pelge rolo zambe zebarache palde lame shabla solvade Omo a guru vajra dara suma timoni shasane karma Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om guru vajra dar Karma uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hum Om guru vajra dara suma timuni shasane karma Uta vardanya shri bar varsa manya sarva siddhi Dagi chetsun lama tuje che nyamda dala tuje sikso so Gebe she san dala tendo so Uyon sunge nawa tsedo so Seche nyingne sowa debe tse Techen korlo viso lekshune Yila sampe dede malupa Geme lungi trubra jingilo Soni sodan dikdun shape tse Dungi namge yinso lekshune Labchen soni yonso tsopadan Chera nyedun chawra jingilo Chancho parge nitsen tukunto Nyu peme siru lekshune Chancho drube gegen kunshishi Tungen dela drupra jingilo Dagi lona chola chopadan Chumi samjur nimba shivadan Chadan timbe dede malupa Beme lungi drupra jingilo Dona tene tsera tamche dan Teche pardo nekav tamche tu Rese kyamne lama kele me Tukche chingi dala sikso so Gongya drewe nyamda dachala Chetsun lame tukche rabgongne Kudan sumge nawa rame tu Nyamsu nyongwe kesan toprasho Kewa kundu yanda lama dan Rame cheki pelalo Yende rabzone Dorche change koba nyurto sho Pakyuke kudan da gelo Pakyuke sundan da genga Pakyuke tudan da geyi Ten yerme çiktu cingi lo Makyuke kudan da gelo Makyuke sundan da genga Makyuke tudan da geyi Ten yerme çıktı cingilo Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Svoha Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Cheshe Give Sonamgi Drola Pinchre Sangye Druparasho Sangye Chodan Soge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chushe Give Sonamgi Drola Pinchre Sangye Druparasho Sangye Chedan Soge Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Dagi Chushe Give Sonamgi Drola Pinchre Sangye Druparasho In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. As Geshe Chekawa, one great master from the Kadampa tradition of the 11th century, there is a saying in which he said, the mind is full of faults, of defects. but it has one great quality. Whatever you teaches, it follows. And this is maybe, I would say, the main quality of our mind in which most of the Buddhist practice is actually based. Because why is it possible to change our own way of experiencing reality? Why is it possible to change our life? Why is it possible to change our mind? Because our mind is interdependent. Even when we talk about Buddha nature, like very often we may see in different texts explaining, oh, we all have Buddha nature. And maybe some of us may have heard this in different contexts. And some people say, oh, we are all Buddhas, but we don't know. I think if we were to be Buddhas without knowing it, we would be quite ignorant Buddhas, no? But the fact is that when we talk about our Buddha nature, without going into much details now about this, but what is actually our Buddha nature? It is the fact that our mind lacks inherent existence. In other words, we are interdependent. What is the nature of the mind of the Buddha? It's interdependent. What's the nature of our mind? It's interdependent. Which means that our mind constantly, it's interacting with everything. Even with our own thoughts, we are interacting constantly. So, I think from all the phenomena that we can analyze and check, one of the most complex one is our own mind. And even if we look nowadays scientifically, we have the tendency to make research on many very deep things and complex realities and so on. But for me, one of the most difficult, that's still quite far away, is understanding well our own mind. For example, in science, we have the tendency of studying the brain in order to understand the mind, and so on. But the mind is not only in the brain, there is more than that. So it's quite more complex than all of this. For example, I personally believe that the mind is in the whole body, related to the body. If we ask, where is the mind in the body? I believe that it's in the whole body. It's connected to the whole body. If it was not like this, we would not have reactions in the mind when we have changes in the body. And there are many, many examples of this regarding the heart and the liver and the kidney and the lungs and so many other things. Anyhow, it goes directly connected to our emotions and to our thoughts and to our state of mind. But this is another subject. The point is that our mind is interdependent. It's constantly interacting. And this actually gives the possibility to direct it well. Some people sometimes may ask us, how much freedom do we have in life, really, to choose? And I remember one friend of mine, I met this man a few times, but he was an important person in my life. I think he's not anymore alive. He was very old when I met him already many years ago. So I really don't have the right information. He was an astrologer in Brazil called Professor Zeferino. And when I went to see him one time, many, many years ago, and he told me, he got the astrological chart, and he was saying, the freedom that we have in life is like the freedom that you can give to a goat when he's tied on the fence with a rope. He has 180 degrees. And your freedom depends how long your rope is, no? But my view is a bit different of that. I think that if we talk about degrees, the freedom that we have in life, the free will that we have, is maybe 1 degree, half degree. Why? If we make a metaphor that I don't like it very much, but I think it's quite clear. We are free to buy anything we want as long as we have the money and it is for sale. If I go to a place and I say, look, I want to get this, I have the freedom to buy anything I want, but I don't have the money, so? I cannot get it. And if I have the whole money, but I have a lot of money, but what I want is not for sale, I cannot get it also. So, similar to that, we have the freedom to do anything we want, as long as we have created the causes, and there are the conditions. If we did not create the causes, it's not possible to experience it. And if the conditions are not there in the present, it's also not possible to experience it. So, we are extremely influenced. Every choice we make, every thought we have, every experience we have, we're extremely influenced by the environment where we are, the education we received, our own body, astrologically. There are so many things of this complex interdependence in which we are, which deeply influences us. That's why sometimes if we think, okay, if we really were in the place of the other person, with his mentality, with his education, with his karma, being with his body, would we do differently? I don't know. So before judging and saying, oh, because this person, if I was in his place, I would do differently. Okay, but let's think well. Being in his place means having his karma, having his education, having his experiences, having his body, having his mentality, being him, no? So the question is, how much is really our freedom? Our freedom, our free will, I believe, is, for example, at this very right moment, we can choose if we stay here or if we stand up. When we are talking to a person, we can choose to say or not to say. We can choose to direct our mind in one way or in another. Very small things. Okay? I can choose I go or I don't go. I can choose where do I go for holiday. Do I go here or do I go there? We have many small choices that we make in life. But every small choice that we make is like half a degree. But when you make a straight line out of a half a degree, after some time, how much distance it creates? A big difference. So, by every small choice we have, we can make half a degree, or even less. So if we make our choices always in this right direction, the same direction, slowly we can make a big shift in our life, in our existence. So we have a lot of freedom, okay? And in our own, but what is not happening, we are never going to go like from one instant to another, change. Change mentality, change lifestyle, change our own state of being. It's not going to happen like this. It's a gradual process. Even this half degree is made of degrees within it. It's like slowly. And this is why it's actually possible to change our mind. It's as possible to change the aspects of our life which generate suffering for ourselves and others, basically. So, in order to make this change, the only way that we can change the aspects of our mind, as we were saying yesterday, which are more profound, which are more not superficial like conceptual, but are deeper, is by familiarizing our mind. That's why we need to repeat experiences again and again. As Geshe Chekawa was saying, the mind is full of faults, but it has a great quality. What you teach, it follows. So when we repeat the same thing again and again, it starts getting easier and easier and easier and easier. It's like Shantideva said, there is nothing that is difficult once we get used to it. So it's a fact of repeating, and that's why concentration is so important. Because when we develop good level of concentration, then we are able to train ourselves into something very deeply. Because we can use concentration for so many things, okay? And depending on what is our work, we need to have good concentration. If we don't have good concentration, we will have no good result. We can see this in any context, in writing, in sports, in talking, you can find it everywhere, actually. Okay? We need to have good concentration. If you don't have good concentration, our own strength, it's completely, our energies are lost around. We are not able really to get the best of our own resources. So, and when we talk about training our mind, concentration becomes even more important. Because in the moment that I'm able to direct my mind into something and keep it there, be present at the present moment, do it really, be present there. Then what happens that I will familiarize myself, I will train myself in a much more deep way than if I am thinking a little bit about this, then I go to another thought, then I come back, then I sleep a little bit, then I come back again, and then I stop thinking, and then I come back. It's completely different. That's why meditation, and in this context, concentration, which is part within meditation, it's so, so important. Okay? So we'll go back. This is the text that we are reading now, is the text of the questions which were made by Lama Tsongkhapa. Lama Tsongkhapa is a great, great master, founder of our tradition, lineage. And then he made this text in which he put questions, asking, okay, if you really want to practice well Buddhism, Dharma, you need to answer well these questions. Okay, so we are going through the questions. Luckily, we have the answers which were given by Panchen, Losang, Chokyi, Gyaltsen also. Okay, so we are in the part which regards meditation and concentration. So, let's go back to the text so that we can slowly continue to follow Lama Tsongkhapa's guidance with Panchen, Losang, Chokyi, Gyaltsen's answers. And the question that we have today is actually very much connected to the one of yesterday, because the one of yesterday, it was asking first which are the two antidotes for the two enemies of meditation, which is mental laxity and mental agitation. And for that, Panchen, Losang, Chokyi, Gyaltsen gave the answer. The two antidotes we have is mindfulness, or the name that we gave to it was recollection and vigilance. Okay, and then now come the next question, which is, okay, once you recognize recollection and vigilance, what are they? What is the meaning of it? Can you describe them? Okay, we already did this somehow yesterday, but we will go briefly again through it. So, the question number 31. Yan Rinpoche sheshin kalche serwa shik gom chenpa kuinge shane longshin tu wongin dukpa teni sosur ngunzin charwa re jidara yo tiros. Drenshe sosur ngunzin yang drenpa mikten semtepe nampa tunre yichepa kebar somde semchungin. Sheshin nyambra shakpa ngang chingo jungda majungwa surgi tawe semchungi chara wadang tsumpate yengme dremba drebula mayen samdiga dremba yin ye mayem chara cheba te sheshin serwa ye mayenge tuente kanyin mikpa dindra chikle yembada mayema shik jokams. Okay. So 31. Mindfulness or recollection. These are words that, as we said yesterday, not so easy to translate. Depending on the context, we have had different words of translation for these two words in Tibetan. That's why somehow we always kept the word in Tibetan also inside, so to be sure what we are talking about. So here, I would prefer to translate it as introspection, or let's say mindfulness and vigilance are identified as follows. Mindfulness is a mental factor with the three following attributes: being a support for visualization, having the aspect of thinking, and mentally attending its object in each session. Vigilance, here is written introspection, but I prefer the word vigilance, is a mental factor, a part of the mind which, while being in equal placement, observes to see if laxity and excitement or mental agitation arise or not. Acting like a spy, it is a result of known distraction. So, as we were seeing, when we are concentrated in anything, there are two main obstacles. Okay? In Tibetan we call it Chingwa and Gerpa. Chingwa, it means we're translating here as mental laxity, which is in the moment that we can be concentrated into something, and as we were saying yesterday, let's try to understand these aspects of the mind outside of the context of meditation also, so then it's easier for us to understand it within the context of meditation. If we are reading a book, if we are talking to a person, if we are doing anything, it's possible to do it with full concentration. So, when we do it with full concentration, there is no space for any other perception other than what we are doing at that moment. For example, if we are reading with full concentration, nothing else is coming to the mind other than the subject about which. Let's say if I'm reading a story, the whole story is coming so vividly, and I even don't have the perception of the pages turning. Okay. When we have such a good concentration, there is a moment in which it's possible that we start losing the intensity and losing the clarity. This is called mental laxity. We still have the object there, but the intensities get smaller, so lower. The clarity, we start losing the clarity. This is the mental laxity. What's the result of mental laxity? Is like if slowly we start to get more far away of the object that we are perceiving. Okay? So we are meditating, there is an object of meditation. With mental laxity, it's like if we start slowly getting more far from the object. And it's like small, sort of a mist that comes in between us. Okay? So this is mental laxity. Mental agitation, or here it is also translated as excitement, basically is the fact that I am there concentrated in my object of meditation or whatever I'm concentrated in, and then one part of the mind starts to slowly go to other objects of perception, which mostly are objects of attraction. So we start to think about, I am hungry, so we start to think about food, or we start to think about our friends, or we start to think about whatever. The mind is so strange. Suddenly comes to the most strange things to our mind. We are able to go everywhere. I had a friend in the monastery, and then when we had teachings, he is a person I really respect in many senses, but he was not very good in having concentration during classes. So what happened was that when we had private lessons with my teacher, only the two of us happened sometimes. Then my teacher, he would come to him and say, at a certain point he would look to him, because if someone is not following you, you can understand it, no? By the face of the person, basically. So he would look to him and would say, okay, let's bring back the plane, land the plane. Bring the plane back, we need to land the plane back, come back here. And when he would need to teach something that he really needed to learn well, he would say to him, and then after say, okay, now tell me back, what did I say? To try to keep his attention present there all the time. Because he had this aspect that he was there, but while being there, then he might go around. So this is what we call very strong mental agitation, which is basically the fact that while we try to concentrate on something, our mind is simply running around. Okay? So these are the two main obstacles for our meditation. And the two main antidotes, as we have here, is to have recollection, okay, or mindfulness, jempa, and vigilance. Okay? So let's see what's the meaning of these two. I took a book here, which is one of my favorite books, actually. which it's the definition of the 51 mental factors. One of the mental factors is mindfulness, Drenpa. So when it says here that the mindfulness is a mental factor that have 3 aspects, I went to look at this book just to check the definition that is given here. So I'll read you the definition that we have here. Sumba Drenpa ngowoni, ngomba kundule Drenpa kanshena, dribe ngobola, semgi jeba mebate, nambar miyewa lecheno, she sumba tar kecho sumdenge rigpa shikos, kecho sumni yul ki kebar dribe ngobo, nambe kebar yul tela mikne jeba meba, chele ki kebar nambar miyewar cheba os. So it says, what is recollection? What is mindfulness? For me, I'm sorry, it's difficult to find a precise word because, how to say, even these words in English for me, they don't mean what I want to mean. So it's quite difficult to find a precise word in English in this way. So sometimes I prefer to give more than one word instead of fixing in one word. Otherwise, then we understand that we need to get the actual meaning of the word more than the actual word itself. I don't know if it's clear, because for every one of us, if I say recollection, we have a different understanding what it means. Recollection, for example, for me, it brings the idea of remembering something of the past. Mindfulness brings more the idea of being present in what you are doing. Yeah. Recollecting mindfulness. Yeah, so it's not my own problem. Other people had the same problem also. So anyhow, let's go to the meaning of the word, then we can find for each one of us which is the word that fits the best. Okay? So, what is this recollecting mindfulness? Dribengopola semgi jeba meba is the fact of not forgetting the object that we have familiarized ourselves with. Driba means to get familiarized, to get acquainted with. Okay? Like, and we use this word a lot in Tibetan when you mean a person that you are acquainted with, that we use the word driba. So dribengobo means first an object to which we get used to it, we learn it, we understand it, we have some familiarity with it. It's the mind, it's the aspect of the mind that don't let us forget it. So it means, for example, if listen to the sound. We can listen to the sound, right? Listen carefully. Well, familiarize your mind with the sound. Now, can we continue to think about the sound? Can our mind continue to be connected with the sound, even though the sound is not there anymore? This is recollecting. This is what we call Drenpa. We are sticking our mind to it, even though it's not there, like even physically. But we have the object, we have known the object, so we keep our mind into it. Okay? But it's not only that, it goes even further. For example, this is showing that we can have 2 types of recollection here. One type of recollection is, I play the sound. As the sound is playing, we can keep our mind, we can stick our mind to the sound. Okay? We know the sound, we listen to it, and we stick our mind into it. We keep listening, we keep our concentration. The mind that makes, let's say, to us to stick the mind into the object is this recollecting mindfulness. Okay? When I stop the sound and we still remember about the sound, our object in this moment is not the sound anymore, it's the mental image of the sound. Okay? We have a memory of the sound, we have a mental image of the sound, but we can still stick to that mental image. Okay? That's happening when we meditate on impermanence or whatever, we stick to the mental image of our object. Okay? So recollecting can go through two ways, or we can bring to our attention, remember, something that we have a strong mental image of, or an object which is directly through our senses. I can see something and I can keep my mind into it. Okay? So this is the two main differences. So, this mind, so we say, and what is the action? What is the function of this mind? What's the function of this mental factor? Mental factors are aspects of the mind, okay? So what's the function of this mental factor? It has the function of not letting us be distracted, of not letting us be distracted from that object. So the stronger is the recollecting mindfulness, the less distraction we will have. The less our mind will go somewhere else, the less we will lose our attention to that object. Okay? So it's this aspect of the mind which is very, very important. So, because what happened is like this. Let me try to put it another way. When we study the mind and its functions, we will see that what we call a direct valid cognition, okay, for example, of the sound. We listen to the sound, okay? The first instant of listening to the sound is a direct valid cognition, we say, is a direct experience. Then after that, it's just when we have a first perception, the second, third, fourth, and so on moments is just the continuity of that first perception. I don't know if it's this clear, but if we just try to observe. When you listen to the sound, it's something new, so the mind goes there and grasps at it. Later, it's actually somehow we are continuing the same perception we had before. It's like a continuity. We look at the image of the Buddha. When we first look at it, it's a new perception. If we keep looking at it, sure, the light is still reflecting in our eyes and so on, but we are projecting the same mental image, and so it's the continuity of the first impact that we had, of the first perception. I don't know, is this clear? Okay? So what happened is that, how do we keep our mind into that object? By having this mental factor called recollecting mindfulness, which means we have the first experience, so which we get acquainted with the object, and then we stick into it, we keep it, we do not let it go. So we remember it. So this mind that remembers the object, that stays within it, is called as recollecting mindfulness. And it's so important for anything, you know. Giving a very, very gross level example that I gave yesterday, like how, okay, we go to the next room to pick up something, and when we get to the room, we forgot what we went there to take. This is total lack of mindfulness. No? Why? Because as we do something, comes other ideas in the mind, and then we forget it. So I need to take that thing in the room. So that's the object. To stick the mind into it, we need mindfulness. We need recollecting mindfulness. But it's something that we can train. Okay? So what happens is that if we do not train this in our daily life, with the most common things, forget about thinking to do it in meditation, okay? It's going to become even more difficult. Because if we familiarize our mind with running around up and down and not stabilizing in what we see, then that's what the mind is used to do. So we need to train our mind into, I do something, I'm there. It's like when one time one man asked the Buddha, "Oh Buddha, what you and your disciples do?" And Buddha answered him, "We eat, we sit, and we walk." And the guy answered and said, "Sorry Buddha, but we all eat, sit, and walk. So what's the difference? And Buddha said, "Oh, there is a difference. When we eat, we are eating. When we sit, we are sitting. When we walk, we are walking." That's the difference. So if we train ourselves to eat while we eat, to be eating as we are eating, to be sitting as we are sitting, to be walking as we are walking, to be present in what we are doing, then we start training our mind in this recollecting mindfulness, to be present in what we are doing. Then when we sit to meditate and we say to the mind, stick here, don't move, then the mind stays there. Otherwise, if we are never present in what we are doing daily, then what happens is that when we try to sit down and meditate, it's like torture. And then we may think that meditation is just a state of relaxing the mind, which is not. Sure, it's very relaxing to meditate correctly, but it's the fact of first, we need to concentrate our mind into our object of meditation. We need to familiarize ourselves with it. But we need to train this also outside of it first. So, as we walk, as we talk, I am here, I am here. I am wearing my clothes, I am wearing my clothes. I am having shower, I'm having shower. Trying to be present. Okay, now it's time to think about the future. I'm thinking about the future. That's what I'm doing now. Okay, it's like do things, be present in what we are doing. It makes a big difference because by that we can train this recollecting mindfulness. Okay? And recollecting mindfulness, as it is said by Panchen also Chokyi Gyaltsen, it has 3 aspects. Okay? Which is Yulgi kebar dribengopo, nampe kebar yulte la mikne jeba meba, chele kebar nampar miyewa cheba. So it has the aspect, in order for recollecting mindfulness to exist, for us to recognize it, it must have 3 aspects. First aspect is the aspect of the object. Second aspect is the aspect of the, let's say, appearance. Let's call it appearance. Nampa means appearance. And the third is of its function. Okay? So basically it's like this. In order for us to recognize if we are having recollecting mindfulness or not, recollecting mindfulness, Drempa, it must have one type of object, one type of mode of existence, and one type of function. Okay? So the object is an object to which we are already familiarized. So this object is something that we have already seen before. It's not something completely new. It's something that first we see it, we observe it, and then we have some familiarity with it. The stronger is the familiarity we have with the object, the easier it will be to have recollecting mindfulness about it. That's why, for example, when we start learning to make a meditation like of shamatha and to visualize the face of Buddha, that's why one of the things that we can do in order to be able to visualize well the face of Buddha is we train to draw the face of Buddha. So drawing the face of Buddha is one of the techniques in order to help after visualization. Why? Because we get acquainted with the object. The more we are familiarized with the object, the easier it will be later to recollect it. Okay? So the object of recollection is an object to which we are familiarized. So the more we are familiarized with the object, the easiest is to recollect it. Okay? To have mindfulness about it. Okay? Second, so this is the object. The second aspect, which here is translated as nampa, which is said nampa, which is called appearance, but let's say mode of existence, maybe it's easier for us to understand, is that it's the aspect of not forgetting the object to which we were already familiarized before. So how does recollecting mindfulness exist? It functions as it do not let us forget. Not forget like in the future I will not forget, but to remain at that perception. It's like if I am thinking about something, recollecting mindfulness is the aspect of the mind that keeps me there. Okay? I think it's quite clear, no? So I am listening to the sound,
first is this first perception. Then, if I'm able to keep my mind in the sound, that's recollecting mindfulness. That's the fact of remaining there. Okay? And what is the function of this? Not allowing the mind to be distracted. Okay? Not allowing distraction. That's the function of recollecting mindfulness. So these are the three aspects of recollecting mindfulness. To have its object is an object that we have already been acquainted before. So the more we are familiarized with the object, the easiest it is for us to have mindfulness about it. Second, it has the mode of existence of remembering. So it's remembering means like remembering again and again, remaining in what we are doing, in our own object of perception. And the third, its function is to prevent us from being distracted, which means from having the mind going somewhere else. Okay? So this is like the three aspects of recollecting mindfulness. This is a very, very, very important aspect of our mind. We all have it. It's a matter of training us or not in that. Okay. So, one of the things that we can do in order to start training ourselves into that also is we need to also learn to observe the mind, which is the second point. The second point, it is called the shirshing, which we translated as vigilance, which is the mind that is observing the mind itself, like a spy, and saying, oh, now you are thinking where we don't need to go, come back here. And for example, one thing that I like to do, like how many times it happens that you are doing something, even in a relaxed moment, and then suddenly come one thought about something that has nothing to do with what we are doing at that moment. So what I try to do, whenever I remember it, and it's most of the time, I say, why I wasn't thinking about this? So I go back and try to find a connection which brought me to that thought. And there is always a connection. Sometimes yesterday it happened to me. I was thinking, then suddenly I think about something important that I needed to remember that had nothing to do with what I was doing. And I couldn't find the connection at that moment, because when you look at the connection right away, it's easier to get the connection. If you let go some time, then it's more difficult to go back. But the interesting thing is that when we train to trace back our thoughts, this helps us a lot to observe the process of the thoughts later. So to prevent them from happening. Okay. So it's like the objective of vigilance is not to allow our mind to go into other directions. When we see that the mind starts going into other thoughts, we say, no, come back here. Remember, now we are looking at the flower. No cup, now is the flower. Okay. Now I'm listening to the sound. I'm not thinking about anything else. Now is the sound. Then we see the mind going somewhere else. No, come back to the sound. That's the mind of vigilance. But what happens is that in the moment that we suddenly see that we are listening to the sound and suddenly we forgot about the sound and we are thinking about something completely different, it's good if we track the mind back up to the object that we were observing before. By doing that, it would help us later to prevent the mind from going around. Okay? Because we start observing the mechanism of our mind. We start understanding where we are leaking, where is the energy is going away. Okay? So, this is one exercise that we can do. And but I like just to add one other thing also, which is connected with this, but not directly connected, but I think it's useful for many people. When we talk about this mental recollection, this recollecting mindfulness, and also having the vigilance, it's two very, very important aspects of our mind that we need to use. And at the same time, they are there also to help us to concentrate well. No? But what I think is that to avoid, basically they are there to avoid our mind from going around and from having the state more like of mental laxity and later dullness, which means like sleeping almost. No? But one of the things that I see is that many people, we have a constant thoughts in our mind. Many people never rest so much. The mind is always thinking too much. This is a problem that I see very often. So even this brings anxiety, this brings people to not be able to sleep well and have many other difficulties because too many thoughts. And I was one time observing myself, and it was a very interesting moment because normally I am a person that don't think too much. Okay, if you need to think about something, think about that. Otherwise, no. Okay. In other words, I don't have much inner dialogue. Okay. And this is something that I see very often. People have a lot of inner dialogue, and it's not so easy actually. It's not so nice to have an inner, to be talking to itself so much. So there was a period where my inner dialogue got a little bit more, and this helped me to understand why. So I went back and I traced back myself and I said, why am I having more inner dialogue? Because I'm not used to that. It's quite tiring actually, We are there and we're talking to ourselves, no, because of this. And what I found out is that the more we have coherence and harmony between thoughts and feeling, the more we have harmony and coherence between what we think, which is the result of our knowledge and understanding, and what we feel, which is the result of our direct experiences, the more there is harmony between the two, the less inner dialogue we have. In the moment that we start to have a contradiction between what we think and what we feel, then we start with these long discussions. Okay. Why this? I shouldn't do like that. Maybe it will happen in that way. We start with this contradiction inside, and this creates a lot of this inner dialogue and these inner discussions. Okay. So my advice, based on my personal experience, so it can be useful or not, you try, is that we need to make friendship between the thoughts and the feelings. There are two different ways of acting, two different ways of being. It's like if we have two people that have two different characters, but we need to go along well together because we have no other choice. We are living in the same place, we are eating together, we are working together, and it's like 24 hours together. So or we get well along, or we will be constantly discussing and in conflict. So no much choice. So how do we do to get well along together? Respecting each other, accepting each other. We need to make friendship. So our thoughts, which means the result of our knowledge, of the information we receive, very often is not coherent with what we feel, which is the result of our direct experiences. Okay. So in the moment that we are able to just one respect the other and create some sort of friendship between the two, then we will see some moments we will follow the thoughts, another moments we will follow the feelings. And in this way, slowly we'll be able to one understand better the other and create a harmony between the two until the moment that they are like one, become like one. Okay? So my personal experience is that the more harmony we have between thoughts and feelings, the less is our inner dialogue. And this is actually quite important for meditation also. Because what is creating a lot of our mental agitation is our inner dialogues and our inner conflicts. And because we are here and while we are sitting and why this is like this and that shouldn't have been like that, but I should have done this. Maybe if I do that, it will be different. We are always thinking about so many things. And very often, a great part of this inner dialogue, it's coming from this conflict, this lack of coherence, this lack of harmony between what we think, our conceptual part, and what we feel emotionally. Okay. So the more we are emotionally stable, the more we have harmony between our thoughts and our feelings, our emotions, the easier it will be to meditate also. And the more we meditate, the more we will have harmony between our thoughts and our emotions. One thing is helping the other. Okay? But there is very much this relation. And I just wanted to add this because I know that many people suffer from this constant inner dialogue. And it is tiring. So as I was saying, it's like I had a period where I got a little bit more of this, and I never really thought much about that until one day I was talking to my mom, and I said to her, "But I don't think much," which is true. No, I'm not like, I don't think much. And then she was saying, "No, it's not true that you don't think. You don't have inner dialogue. You never had." So it's like she used to say, okay, well, like when I was a small kid, I come back from school. I never had the need to talk about things that happened. And I was fine. Because when you are happy with what it is, it's fine like this. You are there, it's good, finished. Go on, be present in what you are doing. But my experience is that whenever I had a small conflict between what I think and what I feel, then the inner dialogue starts appearing much stronger. In the moments of harmony, it goes down, and we can experience more space. Because the inner dialogue takes a lot of our inner space. Instead, where the higher is the harmony between the two, the more space we have. Then it's much more easy just to place our mind in equal placement on something. Observe our own breath. Reflect upon impermanence, whatever. And be present in it, because there is not that inner tension of conflict within us. Okay? So, this is one point. And maybe the best way of doing it is just starting to try to make friendship between the two. Because we have these two aspects, and we need both of them. We cannot be only mental or only emotional. Both of them are there. And they are important in their own way. So sometimes we need to respect more the feelings and let it flow. Other moments we need to say, okay, this emotion is not so good. Be a little bit more aware of what I am doing. Have some more consciousness and don't go in that direction and follow more the thoughts. But one respecting the other. It's like two wise friends, one respecting each other. This is important, okay? So, even in this, it's like mental Drempa and Shershin, again, recollecting mindfulness and vigilance is very important. When I'm able to have this moment of harmony between thoughts and emotions, I say, I cannot lose that. I will stick into it. And then I stay with it. Because I need recollecting awareness, mindfulness for that. Otherwise, I can lose it very easily also. The mind goes somewhere else. And then, so we bring back. And then whenever we see that we are starting to go another direction, vigilance, don't do that. Harmony. Like two friends, we make a commitment, we will not fight. And then everything is going well, and then suddenly we forget about our commitment, and we start to say something. There is vigilance that say, oh, remember the commitment, no fighting. Bite your tongue, don't say it. Come back. Recollecting mindfulness, remember the reason why we are friends, remember the love that we have for each other, remember what we have in common, not what we have different, and so on. So in this way, it's always going back. Okay? So, again, recollecting mindfulness, Drempa, is one of the most important aspects of our mind that we need to train in. Because then it's much more easy for us to direct our mind in what we need to do. Recollecting mindfulness is within the 51 mental factors, is part of the Jungenga, which means there are 5 mental factors which makes the perception of the object stronger. So if it's good or bad depends on the object that we are perceiving. For example, I can reflect upon the best way how to make someone suffer. Okay. So I think about it, I observe the person, I try to harm the person, and then I have recollecting mindfulness, okay, I'm going to harm this person, and I keep the mind into that. It's not a good type, because the object is not good. So recollecting mindfulness is one mental factor that it makes the object of perception stronger. So it depends where we are. For example, there are people that have incredible ability of concentration, but you use it in a negative way. It's there. Because the problem is not, concentration by itself is not good or bad. It's powerful. It depends on what we concentrate our mind. That's what makes the big difference. How do we use this level of concentration that we have? Okay? I have seen people that have great levels of concentration but are very mean. So use this really in a way which is not positive. So it's also there. So it's a mind that it's part of the 51 mental factors, of the 5 mental factors that makes the perception of the object stronger. Yul-ngeba. So it's something that we need to train on. First of all, I think for some of us today, it's like introducing ourselves. You have recollecting mindfulness. So this is recollecting mindfulness. Okay, I'm happy to introduce you to it. So please make good use, be good friends. We need to go back again and again, use it again and again. We have this ability with many things, all the time, but we need to use it. We need to train our mind within it. But just once again, we need to train our mind in recollecting mindfulness and in vigilance in daily things. As we eat, as we talk, as we do everything. And someone may say, oh, but isn't it tiring? What is more tiring? To have a mind that has no control? Or to train our mind to have more control? Maybe we need to put more effort, sure, to have a mind that has control. But as a result, it's much more tiring to have a mind that has no control. So it's good that we train ourselves within it. We have Yungengani, Drempa Sherab Tingedzing. 1 second. Drempa Sherab Tingedzing, which is the other one? Mörpa Drempa Sherab Tingedzing. The first one. Yungengani, Dumba Mörpa Drempa Sherab Tingedzing. Dumba, which is intention, to want something. Mörpa is aspiration. Dumpa, Mörpa, Drempa, recollecting mindfulness. Tingedzing, concentration. Sherab, wisdom, discriminating wisdom. Okay, which is the ability to know this is this, that is that. Okay, so these are the 5 mental factors. Okay, so now, no, both mental agitation and mental laxity, or in a stronger way, sleepiness, okay, they are both enemies of meditation, and recollecting mindfulness and vigilance are an antidote for both of them. Because when I see that the mind is a little bit falling asleep, it's losing its clarity, come back. And I need to have the recollecting mindfulness of where I am, so to come back at my object of meditation. So actually, they're antidotes for both. Okay, it's not like separate. It's not like one is antidote for one, the other is the antidote for the other. They need to go together all the time. Vigilance without recollecting mindfulness is almost useless, because I can be aware that I'm going in the wrong direction, but I don't remember which is the right direction. So, no, not useful. Okay, and recollecting mindfulness without vigilance has the danger of just losing itself. It's like, okay, I am on the right path, but there is no one checking if I continue on the right path or not. So vigilance is the one checking. Okay? And one thing that is important for us just to remember is like, how to say, we need guidance in our lives, even from our own selves. We need to give direction. And on the other side, there is something that is quite, how to say, we need limits. We need to have the tracks for the train. We need something to say, okay, do this, don't do this, for our own self. So vigilance is that. Once I know what I need to do, I need to have mindfulness that, okay, this is what I need to do, this is the way how I need to act. But then I need to be checking myself, and I'm really doing it, because to know is not enough. Until we don't get deeply familiarized with it, we still are going to go out. So we need always to have the vigilance that is checking, where am I going, what am I doing, am I keeping my commitment, I'm not keeping my commitment, what I'm doing. We need always to bring back ourselves. Okay? Like in a monastery, you have the monks that really want to follow well the rules, but you always need a disciplined master that is then showing, oh, here you are not following well the rules, come back, that's not the right way. You need someone showing the way, and this is our mental vigilance. Okay? No, what happens is that when you are meditating and a thought appears, the best way is just to let it go. But when you don't let that thought go, and simply when you see you are already on that thought, you didn't went through this process, you didn't go through this process, simply you are, or we are meditating, or we are doing something, suddenly when we see we are not there anymore, we lost our object of meditation already, we are already in the next thought, then it's good to trace back. Okay? Yeah. One more thing is that when we actually think about concentration, first of all, to develop, to train our mind in mindfulness, in recollecting mindfulness, and in vigilance, is something that we should do outside of meditation. Every moment, in many things. Then slowly it will be very useful after in meditation itself. For example, I'm in bed to sleep. Have mindfulness, okay, I am in the bed, observe the sensation of the weight of the body in the bed, for example. Or the touch of the clothes in the skin. Or the air that we breathe. And just relax the mind within that state. Because there is one important point, which is normally when we imagine someone that is concentrated on something, what's the facial expression that we expect the person to have? To be like this? Or to be like this? Normally it's the second, right? We imagine that we expect the person that is concentrated to be there, focusing on something. This is wrong. Because when you concentrate, like creating tension, I need to concentrate on it. It works for a short period, but not on a long run. Instead, the real state of concentration is a state in which we relax, we rest on the object of perception. We relax from the distractions. So it's a really deep state of relaxation. It's not a state of tension. Okay? So, in order for us to be able to relax, we need to remember, where am I resting? I need to rest my mind in the object of perception, which can be, for example, my own breath. It can be the image of the Buddha. It can be the concept of impermanence. It can be the sensation of love. It can be so many things. in which I will rest my mind. And I will relax from the distractions. I will not give space to the distractions, relaxing from it. I don't need to follow all of this. Finally I can rest into something. The difficulty is that we are not used to rest our mind. That's why it's so difficult in the beginning. Okay? That's why we need to train in recollecting mindfulness and in vigilance in order to be able to rest our mind. Okay? We go a little bit just to question number 32. Mayen tsam diga jemba ying. Yeng mayem chara chebate sheshi ying serna. Yeng mayeng ge tönde kan ying. Mikpa dindra chigle. Yeng badang mayemba she jokam. Mikpa mitsiwar. Yi di matra tsam chebala jembadang. Tre matra chara chebala sheshing she jopa yins. Actually, the questions as Lama Tsongkhapa go on is because in Tibet at his time, there were different explanations of what actually is mindfulness. So he was trying to bring people to have the correct understanding of it. So the second question 32, it's always talking about mindfulness, recollecting mindfulness, and it says, (32a) If somebody said, mindfulness is just the fact of not being distracted, and introspection or vigilance is that which spies if one is distracted or not. What is the meaning of being distracted and not being distracted then? If you say that mindfulness is just not being distracted, then tell me what is the meaning of being distracted or not being distracted. If distraction and non-distraction posited simply in relation to the object of meditation, is distraction or distraction only in relation to the object of meditation or not? And here we have the answer. The meaning of distraction and the meaning of distraction and non-distraction, there is one not more here. It's not like and not non-distraction, because this would be mean distraction, okay? The meaning of distraction and non-distraction is a mind which observes any object of observation that does not liberate itself from the bounds of mindfulness and introspection and abiding on it without moving single-pointedly is described as non-distraction in this case. Through this, one can realize the other one. Okay? So, when we talk about the concept of meditation and mindfulness, what it means to be distracted and not to be distracted. When you lose the object of meditation, you are distracted. When you keep the object of meditation single-pointed without letting the mind going anywhere else, you are not distracted. It's quite simple, actually, no? So the distraction, it comes by two means. We can get distracted, which means we can lose the object of meditation by mental agitation, by many thoughts coming, or by mental laxity and mental dullness. I start to get a little bit tired if I'm going far away. I start falling asleep and slowly I still feeling it far away. Then I lose the object of meditation also. Okay? So, these are the two ways of distraction. So the meaning of distraction and non-distraction is a mind which observes any object of observation that does not liberate itself from it, which means that remains in the object of observation. It's not going out of that object, that keeps the object of observation. And do not liberate from its bonds of mindfulness and vigilance. So it's kept within mindfulness and vigilance. It's not losing mindfulness and vigilance. It's remaining at the object. Okay? And abide on it, single-pointed, which means the mind that remains on the object of meditation, single-pointed, without mental laxity, without mental agitation. It's remaining on that object clearly and purely. This is a mind of non-distraction. The mind of distraction is the mind that loses the object of meditation. Okay? Or because of mental laxity, or because of distraction, or because of mental agitation, one of the two. Yeah, troll. Literally, the word used in Tibetan is liberation. It's troll. It's actually liberate, freeze, which means like you remain within it. You are not going anywhere else. No, because escaping, it has the fact that you want to go somewhere else. You are not in a good place, so you want to escape. No. I don't know. It could be. Denshe Gyalema trollwar. Troll means to go away. It actually literally means to liberate. So, basically, the meaning is, in this context, to be distracted means to lose the object of meditation, lose its clarity, and to lose the actual object of meditation. Okay? And as we said, we can lose the objects by two means, or by mental distraction, which means mental agitation, or by mental laxity and mental dullness. Okay? So, the reason why Lama Tsongkhapa put the question here also is that as the question goes and it says, but some people say that recollecting mindfulness, the meaning of it is actually non-distraction. And it's not true. Non-distraction is the result of recollecting awareness, recollecting mindfulness, together with vigilance. So, it is the function of recollecting mindfulness not to be distracted. It's two different things. The distraction is when we lose the object of meditation. And in order not to lose the object of meditation, we need to have recollecting mindfulness, which is the mind that grasps at the object, that remains there, that sticks to the object of meditation. And we need vigilance that is observing what is happening. So some people made a mistake of thinking that recollecting mindfulness is the actual state of non-distraction. And there are two different things. Non-distraction is the result. It's not the actual state of recollecting mindfulness. Okay? Okay, then we can go to the next question, which is directly connected also. Single-pointed, it means when the mind is not thinking about anything else other than that object. Which means in this context of meditation, not to be distracted means not to have any other thought than the one that we are having at that moment. Not to have any other object of perception than the one that of our meditation. Recollecting mindfulness and vigilance are the tools not to lose the single-pointed concentration. Single-point concentration is one thing, recollecting mindfulness is another thing. Once we have single-pointed concentration, what is going to keep us there? Recollecting mindfulness and vigilance. Okay? But it is two different things. Even the state of concentration, in Tibetan is called tingedzing, is a different mental factor. Okay? Is the fact that the mind remains on its object without going anywhere else. This is a state of concentration, single-pointed concentration. The mindfulness is the tool to help us to remain in that state. So is also vigilance. Okay? Next question, 32a, B, sorry. Mikpa mitsiwar yidi matra tsam chebala drembadam. Matra chara chebala she xing yin she jokpa yins. Yin yi da mitra pang den she lamle sangwe ngardan kebar menyam sim. This is some other different points of view which says 32b. Is mindfulness simply the fact that the mind does not wander around without taking the object of meditation into account? Is that which checks if the mind wanders or not posited as introspection or vigilance? So, the difference is that some people used to say that mindfulness is non-distraction. And other people used to say mindfulness is not wandering with the mind. Okay? Which both of them are actually wrong. Okay, mindfulness is sticking with the object. Because we can lose our awareness, we can lose our mindfulness by two ways, or by wandering around, or by sleeping, or by mental laxity and dullness, okay? So, but some people used to say that mindfulness is not letting the mind to wander around. And then the question comes, also in regard to wandering or not wandering mentally, think that when one is led away from the way of mindfulness and introspection, there is no difference from the above case. Which means, actually, when you say that mindfulness is just wandering around, it's the same thing as the one that we have just said before, of losing one's object of meditation. When we lose the object of meditation, we have no mindfulness anymore. But just to make things clear, when the mind wanders, have we lost the recollecting mindfulness? Yes. But the fact of having recollecting mindfulness, is it a simple fact of not wandering, recollecting mindfulness? No. Okay? It's subtle, but there is a big difference. One thing, not wandering around is not recollecting mindfulness. Are different things. Recollecting mindfulness is the ability of the mind to stick with its object. Okay? That it has been familiarized, not to forget it, and allows it, and has the function of not letting the mind be distracted. Okay? Recollecting mindfulness together with vigilance will protect the mind from wandering around. Okay? When we have good recollecting mindfulness, there is no wandering around. But the non-wandering around is not the same thing as recollecting mindfulness. Is it clear? Okay? Because some people in past, at the time of Lama Tsongkhapa at least, that's why he put here, used to make this confusion. And even nowadays, we use the word mindfulness so much, in so many different contexts. So here is trying to make clarity. What is it actually mindfulness? Not wandering around. Is that mindfulness? No. It's a result of mindfulness. Okay? Because we may think, not wandering around is mindfulness. No. Not wandering with the mind around is a result of mindfulness. But the actual mindfulness is the fact of sticking with the mind to the object. Okay? Because I can be not wandering around, and I can be very sleepy and not really concentrated at my object. So if not wandering around is mindfulness, when I am with a sleepy mind, I am in mindful, no? So, a difference between this. Okay? That's why actually, I always think that the questions are more important than the answers, generally speaking. Because very often my problem is that we don't know the question, so we never even think about the answer. No? So like the question here is, not wandering around with the mind and mindfulness, is it the same or is it not the same? If we do not make the question, most probably we will think it's the same. When we make the question, not really, because if not wandering around and mindfulness is the same thing, that means when my mind is not wandering around, I am mindful. So when I am asleep and I have this state of total mental dullness, am I mindful at that moment? No, but I am not wandering around. So it's not the same. Okay? the reason why we go deeply into this aspect of mindfulness is because it's extremely important in our life and especially in meditation. Okay? So, I'm very happy that we are able to have these 2 days to talk about this level of recollecting mindfulness and also of vigilance and about the mental agitation and mental laxity and dullness and all of this, because these are aspects which are present in our daily life. In meditation, they are essential and very, very important, but in our daily life, they're even more present. So, if we are able to observe our mind, to develop each time more awareness, more recollecting mindfulness in what we do, and develop the vigilance to observe and train ourselves. If we train ourselves in recollecting mindfulness and vigilance in our daily life, then this will help very much to do after in meditation. If we do it well in meditation also, this will help also in our daily life aspects. One is helping the other. But in other words, it means learning to have control over our mind also, which I think is one of the most important things that we can learn to do in life. Really. Because the main tool that we have in our life is our mind. And we need to know how to use it correctly. Okay. So to train, to observe, to reflect, and to train ourselves in recollecting mindfulness and in vigilance, it becomes very, very important in this whole process. Okay? Chetson lame kotse raptenchi namkaratin le chochor gepadan Losang tempe drome sasumgi drove munse tato ne gyurj Nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delekshin Ninsen takto delekpe koncho sumge jingi lop koncho sumge ngodrup sol koncho sumge trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.